Your life, your success, and your profession are all being driven by hidden forces. And if you don't ever see these, you're going to find yourself in a ditch, almost always battling yourself over and over again. But when these things are revealed to you, it's like a river that if you just jump into it, it's going to take you exactly where you want to get to. So in this session, let's simplify your success by looking into your core drivers. But first, let's talk about a man named John Wanamaker. In the mid 1800s, this guy, he came from the Quaker neighborhood, and he was like God and people, love God, love people. Those were the mottos of this man. And one of the things that he said as he started growing in the marketplace, if we're all equal in the eyes of God, then we should all be equal in the eyes of price. And so he invented this thing called the price tag. Now, what happened next could never have been imagined because people started flocking to a store called Wanamaker's. And here's a picture of Wanamaker's, as in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. That's where all of this started. What happened next was people flocked to his store because before the price tag, people literally had to haggle back and forth with each other of like, well, I'll pay you this much. And they'll say, no, like it's really good. We'll only take this much. And they had like haggling school where if you had a store, you actually paid for your salespeople, your clerks to actually go to haggling school. Can you imagine? Well, now with the price tag, there was no need. People could look at it, and if they didn't like the price, they could move on. If they did like the price, they could pick it up knowing that they weren't getting charged more than other people. Great thing, right? This is what's caused business to flow. People can easily see whether or not they want to spend money on something. But here's what happened in the process. Our ability to determine value became outsourced. I'm going to say that again. Our ability to determine value was now outsourced. And so when we see something, we wait for someone else to tell us how valuable it is. Now, when a value is determined, what do? You determine whether or not you are going to pay a price. So when we see value, we see whether something is perceived of as of high value or low value. And based on that, we will spend high dollars or low dollars or give high amounts of time or low amounts of time. We're always evaluating value. And when we evaluate value, if we are always outsourcing that to other people, we are no longer the agent that determines the value. So today we're talking about your values. What does that have to do with John Wanamaker and price tags and people out there who are telling you this is the price and this is the value and this is all of those things? What does that have to do with your direction, with your path, with your calendar, with your results? Everything. A few years ago, we lived in Mexico for 6 months. And it was really interesting when you wanted to buy something. Like we loved, I forget what the corn was called, where they slather it with like butter and mayonnaise, and they put these wonderful spices all over it. Corn on a stick. If you wanted to buy it, it was 20 pesos. 20 pesos for us, it's $1. So 20 pesos, $1. And every day we'd walk past. It wasn't every day, but every time I wanted to buy it, I'd walk to the same place. I'd buy it, and it was 20 pesos. If you wanted it downtown, maybe it was a little bit less or a little bit more, just depended. One day, I came up behind someone else who wasn't a gringo, and I realized what was happening. When the Mexican was selling to the other Mexican, it was 5 pesos. 5 pesos. Why was I paying 20? Do you know why I was paying 20? because I thought that was the price. And it seemed okay, but why was this guy paying 5? Was his corn on a stick any of a lower quality than mine? It wasn't. For him, the value was 5 pesos. And the person selling it knew that. For me, he knew that I might have more resources because I'm, American, very obvious American, and that I might value it at a higher evaluation. I might evaluate and think it's of higher value than this person over here who thinks it's just a common thing might. And I realized all my life I have been outsourcing my value, like what I think something is worth. This is coming back full circle in a moment. You will see. In real estate, I remember when I was a real estate agent and our instructor said, what's the value of this property? We were doing CMAs, competitive market analysis is of everything that's sold in the area. And then like if this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath and it's sold at 200,000, then this 3-2 which was very similar should also sell at a similar price, maybe a little higher, maybe a little bit lower, but we're basing one off the other, which is kind of what we do. And so all of us were giving him answers. What's the value of this house on this property? And he looked and someone threw an answer up and he said, "You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong." After all of the answers were given to our instructor, he finally said, "The value of this property is what someone is willing to pay for it." Now I want to turn. Let's hold that story for just a moment because it's going to connect with all of everything that we're talking about. When we talk about values and having a values-based business, values means principles or standards. It's actually a plural of the word value. So it's kind of nice that we don't just get to, as human beings, value one thing, but we get to have many. But I like to look at the etymology of this. So let's go into the etymology. Oh, I already had that one ready, didn't I? All right. So the etymology of this is that it is a price equal to the intrinsic worth of a thing. You know where intrinsic happens? Inside. Inside your head, inside your heart, inside your mind, you are the one that gives value to something. Okay? It could be to the degree at which something is useful. Actually, it comes from something, the Latin valere, which means to be strong, to be well, to be of value, to be of worth. And so I can't imagine what it was that people were selling, but imagine it was, a staff. And you could say, well, this one is more valuable because this staff is stronger than the other ones. Or the spear is like the metal is more pure than the other ones. And so, right there, it was an intrinsic value though. I want to look at some of the values that you might have. And in what we're doing, we're going to either say, this is what I value, meaning this is what I'm willing to pay a price for, or that's a good value, but it might not necessarily be your value. Here is the truth already ingrained in you and set within you. Half of it happened from your parents and from your upbringing. At least half of what you value is already set and can't be moved. If you try to make a decision against those values, you will find that you are swimming upstream. So we're going to look at some values. We're going to find the ones that give you the easiest downstream method of winning, because ultimately, if you have a vision that goes against your values, what's going to happen? You're going to stop. If you have a work regimen or a workout regimen or a travel regimen or any type of regimen that goes against what you value in your core, you're always going to find yourself in inner conflict. And when it comes down to you needing to decide to do it because now it's like all of your resources are spent and now we only have willpower, when your willpower is low, you will fold. We cannot ever allow our plans to be subject to willpower. Willpower is extremely limited. What stops you or me or any of us from actually grabbing hold of a value, saying this is what I value, and sticking with it? I'll tell you a few. A big one, and actually this is interesting. It's different for different people. We all have little triggers that we have. Let's go into this guy here. Remember our little personality wheel here. So if you are here, if it's something that feels like it's probably if you're either the creator archetype or the pioneer, one of these pioneer archetypes, if that's you, the visionary or creators, if that's you, if it feels like it limits you, you probably won't do it. If we might be afraid to choose a value because, well, now I have to be this value. I have to do this all the time. If you are in this, if you're a connector, one of these connectors, everyman, lover, companion, if you feel like it's going to get you rejected, you probably are not going to do it. And if you're a ruler, it's interesting. I've noticed that, well, and you probably have too. If someone is a ruler, sage, or hero, it's interesting. More rulers and heroes. These people oftentimes will lie. And the reason they will lie, and you can tell that they know that a lot of times, some of them are really good at it, but some of them, you can tell that they know that they're lying. But the reason they lie and maybe they desert some of their actual values is because they want to win. And so if something gets in their way and it feels like they're not going to win, they won't stick to their values. If something gets in the way of these people being individualistic, they may desert their values. If something gets in the way of these people connecting with other people, they may desert their values. And the problem with a value that's deserted, it's like a seed that's put in the ground and never harvested. Or actually, it would be more accurate, it's a seed that's put in the ground. Let's just say you took action by value. And it's valuable action. So if it's action taken by value, it's valuable action, which means it is impossible, according to the laws of heaven and earth, it's impossible that thing wouldn't grow. But when we turn the other way, with our belief, with our, we act truthfully, probably in fear of something. Unbelief, like we lose our faith, we lose our connection. When we turn away, it's almost like digging that seed up and just dropping it on the ground. It's like before it ever even has a chance to grow, we are aborting it. We're stopping it. So how do we stop from stopping? How do we do that? Well, we have to identify things, and if you don't identify things, this is the interesting thing. Here we go. So how do we, like, the things that stop us are it's evident, it's been there. And if you're someone who's in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you can see what you did in your teens and your 20s. Check this out. Here's what happens if you...
I've seen this done a couple of times on a couple of different videos, and I'm not quite sure this is real, and I just want to see what's up. Ooh. I've seen...
That's you, by the way, if you are trying to create a plan that goes against your values. So like before we were saying, hey, you might stop your values, but the truth is like most of them are always going to be there. Most of the time, your values are stopping you. One of the values that I have personally that might forever condemn me to not work with another company ever. Like I've been unemployed for like 7 years. By unemployed, I'm self-employed for 7 or 8 years. And the truth is that I would learn a system and I would get antsy that if I didn't get to create something new, I would have to leave. I would get so frustrated that I couldn't create, I would leave. So to me, creativity like uniqueness and creativity are core to my being. If I were to ever do something, let's just say, show up in a way, let's, this is a real example. I am growing my career as a speaker. And some of the friends that I have who are in the world of speakers, they will memorize their speech over and over and over again. I was talking to a guy and he's like, "Yeah, I just now practiced my keynote, and it was the I could have swore he said 600th time." Now, for this guy, there's no creativity that's like that creativity happened once and it's gone. Now, for him, it feels like perfection and honing and getting better. So he is more the analytical, like type of a person who's like getting sharper and sharper and sharper. For me, that would feel like death. So if I were to try to say, I'm going to be a speaker and I'm going to take his way of doing things, what would happen would be either work would become torture, which maybe that's happened for you, or I would start and I feel excited about starting, but then I would quit because why? It goes against the flow of what's inside of me, just like the Mentos and Coke. It will backfire if you are choosing something that goes against your the natural flow of your core values. So we're going to choose a couple and we're going to realize that there are multiple, like you probably have 4 or 5 that are just, they were programmed in you and it's from the beginning. Mom, dad, teachers, uncle, like your early childhood, some of these were just formed and it's who you are. And they're like, we're not going to look at any of them as though like, we're going to see all of these things have value. All of these values have value, but we can only be driven by so many. We might admire some, but it doesn't mean they're our core drivers. And so we want to find the ones that are your core drivers. To do that, and we'll go through a list and you guys will actually, we'll look at some here in a minute, but I want you to see it like this. I want you to imagine, so just like the Mentos, your values are like this river. Okay. And the ones that you already have that were packed in you, that you already think like and with, they're here. Now, what we want to do is we're going to use these. So we want to align everything we're doing with this raging river. And we're going to also create a little stream here and a little stream here. So we're going to choose a couple of values that are aspirational. So I'll give you an example of an aspirational value. I'm working with someone that in my coaching business, they want to be healthier than they've ever been in their life. And so if they want to be healthy, but they're not healthy, that means that there hasn't been a value here. It hasn't been in the main stream or river of what they're doing. It's one they're trying to adopt. Okay. So we're going to we're folding that into these other core values. Okay. So do you understand? So what, like the whatever these streams are, they look like the Jewish locks on the side, whatever those things are called, those curls they have on the side of their head. Whatever these are for you, you get 1 to 2 aspirational values. Okay. The rest of them, I'm asking you actually to look for your 4 to 5 main values, like the ones that you were prepared with. They were put into your heart and into your mind. It's already been there. I'm going to give you a few that are probably going to match your, it's probably going to match where you come from. And so I want you to listen to your archetype. And as you see that, say, okay, maybe that one fits me. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm going to go through a list. So if you are the optimist, positivity, simplicity, trust, being trustworthy, honesty, those might be some things that ring a bell, but I'm going to keep going. You don't have to only pull from your main archetype. You can pull from others as well. Okay. The explorer. If you have the explorer archetype, maybe these four matter to you. So freedom, curiosity, adventure, authenticity. Ooh, maybe a couple of these ring true to you. I know a couple do for me. If you're a sage, maybe it's knowledge, truth, wisdom, reflection, empowering, teaching. Those are actions, but also values. If you have the hero personality archetype, courage, achievement, discipline, perseverance. If you're the outlaw, the rebel, maybe it's like, I don't know how to phrase this, but I was working with a guy and I will not hold up the finger he held up and I will not use the same letters, but let's just say it was um, F and U, where he had to have those two. If he had an F and a U, if he could say that to anyone, it it empowered him, and he loved finding something to fight against. And sometimes it is the fight. It is freedom, independence, justice. So those are some things you might like there. If you are the shaman, the magician, transformation, vision, innovation, insight, being connected. Maybe it's spirituality. Maybe it is like, if you're like me, it's Christ likeness. Every man. Values can be, and I'm going to use this for two different ways. Belonging, but it might be you want to belong, or you want to create something where others belong. Equity, equality, compassion, connection, dependability, again, trustworthiness, ease. If you're the lover, here's some: passion, commitment, harmony. These can fit for other people as well. There's maybe sensuality, like having more of or intimacy, I guess would be a better way of saying that. If you're the jester, joy, spontaneity, humor, authenticity, fun, adventure, again. If you're the caregiver, if you are the companion person, just compassion. Maybe it's being a friend, selflessness, support, responsibility. If you're the ruler, it could be order, control, again, responsibility, leadership, building, designing. If you're a creator, I'm going to bring that design word here too. Designing. I guess that's not a core value. Designing. Imagination, expression, originality, vision. So these are some core values that you may or may not have. For me, some of the things that have driven me include these values: faith, family, freedom. I mean, that sounds like a hat you might see on 4th of July, but these mean different things to me. It is adventure, it is creation and authenticity. So these are some of those core drivers for me. When I look at those, I should plan accordingly. And when I love something, when I look at something, I say, this is something I want to create in my life, I can say, at all costs, I value these things. So I'll close with this. I want you to think about Chick-fil-A. Okay. Chick-fil-A, their original guy, the guy that started them, Truett Cathy, a devout Christian, said, I believe and God. And I want my people to be able to worship God on Sundays when people go to church and to not feel a pressure to have to work. We'll be open 6 days and not 7. And do you know they outperform almost every single fast food restaurant in America in 6 days? They do more in 6 days than almost everyone else does in 7. Or think about Patagonia. Patagonia, if you, they try to tell you not to buy new clothes. Don't buy our clothes, they say. Recycle the old ones. If something tears or rips, we'll fix it, because they are so committed to a clean earth and a beautiful environment that they're willing to sacrifice the profits that other people are running after. Um, Costco, they promise, and they do two things simultaneously. Well, three. They have the $1.50 hot dog, which I think you can get the hot dog and a drink $1.50. That's like their promise. Okay, they have the $1.50 hot dog. They have low prices. They're not going to charge above, I think, a 3% markup. And then they treat their employees. They give their employees great pay and great benefits. And so all of these are examples of companies that stick with their values, because it might not be valuable to you, but it is to them. And here's the cool thing. In the marketplace, as we bring our gifts to the marketplace, if we bring them without our values, we're basically it's prostitution. Like we're giving away, we're bringing something and say, hey, for a price tag, you can have this. When you do what J.K. Rowling does, now J.K. Rowling, she was actually they actually pressured her to make the Harry Potter stories more, obviously she's come under scrutiny for what she says about gender and transgender issues, but they try to commercialize. They tried to make it into something that it wasn't, and she's not willing to pay attention to the controversy. She wasn't willing to bow down to what other people were telling her stories should be for the commercialization part of it. She just wanted a good story. She valued that. Bring your values, combine it with your gift, and in that, we plan, we practice, we play, our work becomes our play. But values it's that place where you get to determine the price. None of us do. But the goal is, guys, is that you're finding something that, like, we're not fighting upstream. We're not fighting the Mentos and Coke. We're finding the things that already exist in us. We're acknowledging it and saying, hey, that's actually pretty cool. Why don't I use this to my advantage? And we're using a momentum that has been building all of your entire life to give you power in what your next step is. It's in your core drivers, and those core drivers are what you've already said are valuable. So that's it. Your core values. If you're interested in digging in and really just asking yourself the questions that are going to reveal these drivers to you, so you can put them into your plan and plan from the place of really the easiest victory, I want you to go ahead and you can click on the card here and it will bring you right into that exercise. We'll see you there.